Welcome back to our online class. What are you all doing? Hope you are understanding the lesson. We'll start with our second part of the lesson, changes around us. We started with the milk turning to curd. The of the Earth's axis also defines the length of daylight. Daylight hours are shortest in each hemisphere's winter. Got it? Now see, the day is finishing by 5:30 for us also, isn't it? In winter, it is so cool, isn't it? The evening comes very fast and day becomes very short. Between summer and winter solstice, the number of daylight hours decrease and the rate of decrease is larger than is larger the higher the altitude latitude. The fewer sunlight hours, the colder the nights. Why does Earth's day length change during the year? Every location on Earth experiences an average of 12 hours of light per day, but the actual number of hours of daylight on any particular day of the year varies from place to place. Earth rotates on its axis. This causes us to experience day and night. On the evening of Monday, 21st December 2020, recently 3 days, 4 days back, the exact date of December solstice, the two gas giants will align from one point of view on Earth and appear to be just zero point 0.1 degrees from each other. In 2020, the summer solstice took place on 20th June. Got it? At GMT or UTC standard time. The days get shorter in northern hemisphere and the days and nights are equal length at the equinox. After the equinox, the sun's position moves south of the equator and days in the northern hemisphere get shorter than the nights. The shortest day is at the December solstice. As the Earth moves in its orbit, the tilt of North Pole changes. When it is tilted towards the sun, it is tilted away from the sun, it is winter in northern hemisphere. In between, we have autumn and spring, the four seasons. The autumn and spring, winter, and summer, the four seasons. Right, children? The day that the Earth's North Pole is tilted closest to the sun is called a summer solstice. It is summer season, hot season. As a calendarical period, the month is derived from the lunation, that is, the time elapsing between successive new moons or other phases of moon. A total of 12 lunation amounts to 354 days and is roughly a year. Each day, the rising and setting points change slightly. At the summer solstice, the sun rises as far to the northeast as it ever does and sets as far to the northwest. Every day after that, sun rises a tiny bit further south. At the fall equinox, the sun rises due east and sets due west. Or the moment, let us think about one motion. Earth's spin or rotation on its axis. Earth rotates or spins towards the east, and that's why the sun, moon, planets, and stars all rise in the east and make their way westward across the sun. But it appears to rise and set because of Earth's rotation on its axis. It makes one complete turn every 24 hours. It turns toward the east. As the Earth rotates towards the east, it looks like the sun is moving west. So during summer solstice, it is in the southeastern part, and in winter solstice, it is the northeastern part. However, there are 2 days, that is March 21st and September 23rd, when the sun rises exactly in the east. Similarly, in winter, what happens? The angle of sun drops lower, casting less concentration heat and longer shadows. Just as the sun's proximity to Earth directly affects the surface temperature. The angle of sun also dictates the length of the shadow. Because the sun is more directly overhead, the shadows are smaller in summer than in the winter. In winter, what happens is the northern part of the earth is tilted away from the sun. That means the sunlight is not coming in as directly. So, shadow during the winters are longer. The tilt of Earth's axis affect the length of our shadows. During the summer, our location is tilted towards the sun, so our midday shadows are very short. During the winter, our location is tilted away from the sun, so our midday. In regions away from the equator, shadows are shorter during summer and longer during winter. This is because the sun is low in the sky in the winter and high overhead in the summer. The length of a shadow depends on the position of the sun. Overview by measuring the shadows from the fall through spring, students discover that shadows become longer as fall season progresses. Shadows are their longest on the winter solstice. Shadows become shorter as spring approaches. And students can predict that shadows reach their greatest height on summers. Got it? In summer season, the shadows are highest. This was an experiment done by the students. The position of the sun affects the size of the shadow. A person or object blocks more light when the sun is low in sky. More blocked light makes shadow longer. Understood? This makes the short shadows shorter. Technically, like any non-transparent object, the sun would cast a shadow on another object. So theoretically, it does cast a shadow. Practically, it would only do so if a brighter star or other source of light were to appear or move near it. Got it, children? As the seasons change, so do our shadows. Because of winter itself, or rather, the Earth's position related to the sun changing as we all, the sun rises during spring and summer months in our sky means that heat. Because the sun is more directly overhead, shadows are smaller in the summers than in the winters. In winters, the northern part of Earth is tilted away from the sun. That means the sunlight is not coming in as directly, so shadows during the winter are longer. The noon on a summer day, the sun's highest position, casts almost no shadows. Similarly, in winters, the angle of the sun drops lower, casting less concentrated heat and longer shadows. Each day at the same time, go to that object and measure the length of its shadow. Shadows change with the season. The tilt of the Earth's axis affects the length of our shadows. During the summer, our location is tilted towards the sun, so our midday shadows were very short. During the winter, our location is tilted away from the sun, so our midday shadows are longer. During summer, the North Pole is tilted towards the sun. As a consequence, the sun's path is higher in the sky, causing the northern hemisphere to receive more sun, more light and heat. Now the sun's path is lower in the sky, causing the northern hemisphere to receive less light and heat. This makes the days shorter and colder. In regions away from equator, shadows are shorter during summer and longer during winter. This is because the sun is low in the sky in the winter and high overhead in summer. The length of a shadow depends on the position of the sun. The position of the sun affects the size of a shadow. A person or object blocks more light when the sun is low in the sky. More blocked light makes shadow longer. This makes shadows shorter. Shadows are longest in the early morning and late afternoon or early evening when the sun appears in the sky. What happens in winter season? Shadows are longest just before sunset. It doesn't matter the season. Now if you are talking about like at high noon, then it is a winter. This is because the sun is at lower angle in the sky and thus cast a longer shadow. Shadows are longer in the morning and evening and short in the noon. Because the sun rays are slanting in the morning and evening, whereas at noon it is just above our head. The size of the shadow depends on the position of the object from the source of light. Shadows change length during the day because as the earth rotates on its axis, the angle between the sun and any given point on the earth changes. These seasons are spring, summer, autumn, winter, and then your second spring. The December winter solstice is the shortest day in the northern hemisphere but is the longest day in the southern hemisphere. Easterling is a scientist, what he said. And similarly, the June, the summer solstice, is the longest day in the northern hemisphere and shortest in the southern. What happens in June month? The summer solstice for the northern hemisphere occurs within a few days of June 21st every year. It is on this day that the position of the sun in the sky at noon is at the highest altitude of the year, and the position of the sun at sunrise early morning and sunset evening is the farthest north for the year. Got it? Shadows are made by blocking light. Light rays travel from a source in straight lines. If an opaque or solid object gets in the way, it stops the light rays from traveling through it. This results in an area of darkness appearing behind the object. Winter shadows are long because sunlight is spread out. Summer shadows are short because the light is concentrated in one small area. The noon sun appears high in the sky. Got it, children? Like all worlds orbits a sun. Earth casts a shadow. You might not realize it, but from Earth's surface you can see the shadow. In fact, it's easy to see, and you have probably already seen it many times as days changes to night. That's because night itself is a shadow. We'll finish the lesson for today with our homework. First question: when is shadow longest? Second one: when is the longest day? Thank you, children. See you in next class. Assalamu alaikum. Send me the homeworks by 5 o'clock. See you. Bye.